Welcome to the HR Kyle podcast, your go-to source for insightful discussions on leadership, job searching, and all things human resources. I'm your host, HR Kyle, and each week we dive deep into topics relevant to professionals seeking to elevate their careers and organizations. Whether you're a seasoned leader, a job seeker navigating the ever-changing landscape of employment, or an enthusiast looking to stay ahead of the curve, this is the podcast for you. Join me as we explore practical strategies, share expert insights, and engage in meaningful conversations that empower you to succeed in today's dynamic workplace. So, adjust your headphones and let's dive in. Hello and welcome to another edition of the HR Kyle podcast. I'm your host, HR Kyle. And today we're going to be talking about a topic that's become more and more prevalent and also more and more important over the past decade or so. And that is a digital presence. And that could be personal and or that could be professional. But it's become more and more a prominent topic in all of our lives. So we're going to be talking about that today. In segment one, Becky will join me, HR Kyle Becky, and we'll talk through the topic and share our thoughts, ideas, and standpoint. And then after the break, in segment two, we'll bring a guest on who has a significant amount of experience in digital presence and positioning people, again, from a personal and professional standpoint. And he will share his wisdom around the topic. But before we get into all that, we do need to take a quick break. You can find out some of the things that we're up to. And we'll be right back. Greetings. I'm Kyle Smith, and I'm here to offer you a speaking experience that goes beyond the ordinary. With a rich background in leadership, HR, and personal development, I bring a unique blend of expertise and passion to every presentation. Whether it's Leadership Unleashed, well-being at work, or career mastery, I delve into topics that empower individuals and organizations to reach their fullest potential. What sets me apart? Proven expertise, an engaging delivery style, and actionable insights that drive positive change. But here's the kicker. I don't just offer a one-size-fits-all approach. I customize my content to meet the specific needs and goals of your event. So let's elevate your event together. Contact me now to reserve your date and unlock the full potential of your audience and organization. Don't miss out on the opportunity to inspire greatness. Visit hrkyle.com today. And we're back. Segment one of the HR Kyle podcast. We're going to be talking about the digital presence. Again, personal or professional digital presence. And what's been our habit over the last few weeks, we're going to have HR Kyle Becky join us yet again to participate and add value to this discussion. So HR Kyle Becky, welcome back. Well, Becky, as we've been doing, I'm going to have you take over and jump in the driver's seat and lead this discussion for us today.
Great, Kyle. Glad to be here as usual. So the strong digital presence, let's talk about that today. Why do you think building a strong digital presence is important, both personally and professionally?
Yeah, great question. Great way to start. And I want to make it clear first and foremost, I'm by far not an expert in this topic. And I think Becky would admit the same about herself. But what we are learning and we're realizing more and more is the importance of and the focus that is being placed on personal and professional presence as it relates to a digital presence. So from that perspective, I would say one of the big things is impacting opportunities. So my business, HR Kyle, I have gained a lot of business and a lot of business leads through my professional digital presence. Whether that's on LinkedIn, whether that's on some of the other channels, whether it's through this podcast that I do each week, it really has opened the door to a lot of opportunities. And a big part of that, of course, is the second point, and that is visibility. It's giving me visibility to a lot of people that I may or may not have visibility to. It's also giving visibility to the things that I am good at, the things that I know, the things that I can speak on, the things that I can advise other organizations on. And then finally, it gives credibility. So it's credibility from the topics that I'm talking about, or the topics that I'm presenting online, and I'm sharing feedback that I'm receiving from clients, and I'm sharing information about the things that I know or that I like to do or that I've gained success with. So first and foremost, it really is that opportunities presenting themselves, gaining visibility, and promoting credibility. That's the top three things.
Right. And what's really important, I think, too, that you didn't mention is that it's free.
Right.
It's marketing, free advertising on all of the platforms that we use.
And a great point. And you don't have to be an expert to do it. That was where I kicked this off with. I'm by far an expert. I'm nowhere near that, but I learn and I get better at doing things, and I try to get a message out there, and I try to be authentic in how I do it. And you're exactly right. It doesn't cost me anything but time.
Right. And you do like to use your social media. I know that.
Yeah, I do a lot.
Yes. And one of the thoughts that popped in my head was knowing the different platforms, which is part of my second question. So what are key elements of a well-rounded digital presence, like knowing Instagram, LinkedIn, Facebook?
Well, a big part of that, Becky, is knowing what each of those, I call them channels, is good at and good for. And, who's your audience on those channels, and what type of attention span do they have, and what prompts them to take action. So you really need to know, that LinkedIn, and again, I'm going to state the obvious, LinkedIn is different from Instagram. Of course it is. But knowing also, who does LinkedIn reach? How do they like to receive information? What's going to catch their attention? What's going to drive them to take action? What's going to make you memorable? And then that's going to be different on Instagram, or it's going to be different on TikTok, or it's going to be different on Facebook. And then how I present it on my website is going to be different than all of those. Mm-hmm. So it's knowing what those channels are for, who they're reaching, and the best way to reach those individuals, and meaning what makes you stand out. Because the other thing that we know about social media and all these channels is a lot of times it's short attention span. So people are scrolling through, and they're going to scroll right past your posting if it's not something that catches their attention. Right. So along with that, you're hitting into some of the basic marketing principles. You want a consistent message. You want to have some branding around it, up to and including your colors and your message and your themes. And the other point is, because you only have them for a short period of time, your messaging needs to be very clear. The language you choose, the number of words that you use, all of that has to be clear and readable in a very short period of time, because you're going to lose them quickly. They're going to scroll past.
Right. And I hear people frequently say that they don't know how to use it. I'm afraid to use it. I don't know. And, I suggest either just get on them and start playing around with it like we have done, or go to YouTube and do a short video. People like videos now, 1 to 2 minute video on how to use them.
Well, and that's a great point. And there's a lot of information out there to help you get better at using these tools and these channels. And it doesn't cost anything. And I agree with you, like with so many things in life, sometimes at a point you just got to take the leap and do it. And you're not going to be good at it at the beginning. Nobody ever is. But watching the activity, watch what catches people's attention, what gets their likes, what gets their follows. And then, then you begin to formulate your strategy and your approach. Right. And I think then that's where the consistency comes in, because you recognize certain things, certain themes, and certain things that tend to catch people's attention. Like you say, video. It took me a long time to get past the hang up of seeing myself on video and being overly critical. But you're exactly right. People like videos. They like to see real people, the people that they're interacting with, doing things. Even if, and sometimes even because, they're a little clumsy. If Right. It comes across too produced and too fine-tuned and too nice and neat and tidy, that tends to turn people off, because they know it's not real. But if they see someone talking, maybe they're stumbling a little bit and they look a little bit nervous, that very often draws more people in than the well-polished video. Right.
And just real quickly, my go-to, if I was just starting out, would be Instagram, because it's a picture and you can comment. What are your thoughts on what the easiest one to start with?
Well, I think it depends on the person. For me, what became the easiest was LinkedIn. Mm-hmm. But I had invested time over my career in building up a LinkedIn presence. Right. And So I already had a lot of followers out there and a lot of connections, and it felt very natural for me to just share the things that I was up to. But you're right. Now that I've evolved a little bit, I'm doing a lot more on LinkedIn. I'm doing a lot more on Facebook and so on, because I agree with you. I have found those to be easier. It could be something as simple as a cute picture that you take in an event that you were at, or something else that catches your attention, and you can put even a few words with it. You have to be wordsmithing it and getting real clever on your words,
Right.
and you can get something out there. So it's a quicker one. You're exactly right. The LinkedIn, that takes me some time. I've got to make sure that I position it just so the wording's got to be just right, and so on. But yeah, if I were starting out now and I wanted something where I said, hey, I don't have a lot of time, I want to get some traffic though, I think Instagram, and right along with that, Facebook to some degree or another as well.
Right. Well, and you mentioned the authenticity and the real and just putting a cute picture out there, which leads me to my next question. How can you effectively engage and grow your audience and still maintain that authenticity in the digital presence?
Well, for me, I think you keep it around your topics that are important to you. Mine is your guide through the world of work. I've trademarked that term. So the things that I'm sharing, whether it's visual, whether it's verbal, whatever it is, are around that topic. And people know that if that's something that they're looking to read about, learn about, see, they want to have it appear in their timeline or appear in their feed, they know that's what they're going to get from me. So it's knowing that theme, whatever it is, and you're building your content around that, because that's what your audience is looking for. And the other key here is, and I've made a very big deal about doing this because I know how important it is. You've got to interact with people when they comment on your posts and so on. Interact with them, which, it feels weird to have to tell people to do that, because for me, it just comes naturally. If someone gives me a compliment or praises something that I'm doing, it's very natural for me, whether it's in person, in writing, wherever it is, to say thank you. But for some people, it's odd. You have to tell them, hey, if somebody says thank you on LinkedIn, or says you're doing a great job on LinkedIn, you really do need to thank them.
Yes.
And I'm thinking of someone, and I won't give the name, who's a political figure here in the Akron area, who hosted one of our Instagram accounts. That's kind of an Akron-focused Instagram account. And each week they have a different person hosting that. And she posted all this stuff of she's doing this, she's doing that, she was here, she was there. People would comment. Not one time did she reply to a comment of what people posted. And that really stood out to me as saying, you know what, I'm just putting this out here for my benefit. And again, who knows what the reason is? We can only assume what it is. But my interpretation was, hey, I'm just putting this out here for attention. I don't need to interact with you. And I think that's a big miss. I think that's a big miss. That's a chance for you to interact with people.
Right.
And the other thing too, where you said about maintaining authenticity, I think you've got to strike a balance between what's personal and professional as far as putting out there as well. I know in my work, it tends to blend together now because I run a business that you're a part of, Nathan's a part of, my son Nathan to one degree or another. So there's this natural blending of the personal. I mean, it's every day there's going to be some blending of personal and professional. But even there, I try not to get too carried away. I make sure it's always business related.
Right. But you even mentioned that, you get hundreds of likes and clicks on those especially LinkedIn, when you put those out on the personal ones.
Mm-hmm. Every time. If it's something personal, again, business related, like I put a picture out here, two of my older brothers came to visit me a few weeks back, and we took a picture at my desk and I had some comments there. That was one of the busiest postings that I had.
Right.
For the last couple months. Again, I put some content in there about why they were here and what we were doing, but still getting into some of that personal stuff, and even just people seeing me in a casual clothing. There was a couple of people that commented on that as well. And it meant a lot to me that they took the time to notice that and comment on that. But yeah, I think it's not feeling staged. You and I were talking about a posting this morning where a woman commented that, why do people seem to hate me on here? and there was some feedback on that. But I think one of the main reasons was every picture seemed so staged. Makeup was perfect, lighting was perfect, the posing was perfect, everything was perfect. And we all know now, at least a lot of us, that's not real life.
Right.
That's phony. People now are looking for the real life postings and so on, where someone's hair isn't all put together and they're wearing a shirt that they really like, but maybe it doesn't photograph really well and the lighting's a little bit off, and there's this or that that's not quite right. People are more drawn to that because that's real, and it's showing your audience, quote unquote, who you really are.
Right. Totally agree. Well, again, great conversation. Let's finish up here today with some common pitfalls. What do you think those are when it comes to managing your digital presence, and how can they be avoided?
Yeah, I think one, over posting. If you're just posting every single thing you do, and I'll see people comment negatively on that, like everything they do, they're setting up a camera. They're making breakfast. There's a camera set up. They're walking out the door. Clearly, they've staged that. They show themselves getting into their office in the morning, but they're the only one there. So clearly, they put the camera inside the office, walked back out, made it look like they were walking back in. I think it's that over posting. I think the inconsistency, whether it's from a time standpoint, you get people engaged, and a couple of days in a row you post stuff, and then you go another week and a half before you post anything else.
Right.
So it's inconsistent from that standpoint. Or, 1 minute you're posting about, the work that you do and everything there. And if you post on that, and all of a sudden there's this out of whack post that's on here about, your car got a flat tire type of thing. So I think it's the inconsistencies. And I'll say this too, unprofessional content. There's disagreement on this, and that's fine. You will never read a post of mine that has any sort of foul language or anything in it,
Right.
anything that looks inappropriate from a sexual standpoint or anything like that. I just don't go for that. I think that's unprofessional. I don't think I'm alone in that turns people off. And then, just mismanaging your online reputation in general. Just how you're, what you're sharing, you're oversharing. People are knowing about your personal life and all the trials and tribulations that you're going through. That becomes your reputation, whether you like it or not.
Right.
And people understand that, hey, we all have some bumps in the road and things happen. But if you're consistently posting things that come across as negative and political and even, and I'll say this, and I'm a religious person, but if it's overly religious and it feels lecturing, that's just not going to draw people in. So,
Right.
it's having that consistent message that's kind of middle of the road that draws people in, states your opinions and the things that you like, but it's not all over the place. You're up one day, you're down the next, you're this, you're that. That's where people run into trouble.
Right. And I think on the opposite side, which we've discussed this many times, is posting everything that's positive.
Yes.
Because we all know that everybody's life is not 100% positive.
Exactly. And I'll say this, from a gender standpoint, and maybe I could be wrong on this, you tell me, but I think that kind of stuff especially turns women off.
Yes.
Like women read into that stuff. Women are very good at seeing those things, and it catches their attention. And I think if you're trying to get to, especially reach a female audience, you cannot portray everything as great, because women especially will call that out every single time.
Exactly. Well, and then my last thought is, I know that there is information online about the number of times you should post on each of your platforms or the channels. Off the top of my head, I don't know what they are, but I know there's, 2 times a week, 7 times a week. I know that's out there too. So your listeners probably want to research that and see how many times is common, what you're supposed to do if you're trying to get into the digital world.
Yeah, great point, because what that helps you do as well, Becky, I'm glad you brought that up. That's a great point, because as we all get busy, we literally, and I do this, and you and I talk about this, I schedule this stuff on my calendar to make sure that I've blocked off time to do it, that it helps me remember to do it, and so on. So those guides, like you say, where you go out and it says Facebook, you post this many times in a week, and this one, you can block off your calendar to make sure on, every Monday, Wednesday, Friday, I'm posting to this source at this time or whatever, because of exactly what you're saying. So it makes your
Right.
time management in your organization so much better.
Right, exactly. I mean, even with the podcast, we know that on Sundays, this is what we do.
Right.
You give me questions. We talk about the subject beforehand, and then we get on and we do the podcast. We do it on Sundays.
Yep. And then I spend, a couple hours afterwards and I edit it and so on. And ideally I get it published and then published Sunday and then publicized beginning on Monday. So it's exactly right.
Yep. Great. Well, fantastic conversation again. I love talking digital things. And I appreciate you having me here again.
Yep, I always enjoy it, Becky, and always enjoy having our guests who join us all around the world. That's a cool thing when I look out there and I see how many listeners are from literally all around the world. So that means a lot to me, and it means a lot to us that you tune in and you trust our content every week. With that, thanking you for tuning in. We're going to take a quick break, but don't leave us, because we've got an expert coming on in this part 2 to talk about digital presence and all those good things around this topic of digital. Are you a business owner looking to build a thriving team? Or perhaps a job seeker on a quest for your dream career? Look no further than HR Kyle. HR Kyle is your trusted partner for all things human resources. We're not just about services, we're about success. For businesses, HR Kyle offers tailored HR solutions from talent acquisition to compliance support. We're here to help your team flourish. And for the job seekers, HR Kyle provides personalized career guidance and direction that only a seasoned HR professional can offer. We'll help you find that perfect job match. Don't settle for less. Choose HR Kyle and unlock success today. Visit us at www.hrkyle.com. HR Kyle, unlocking potential, empowering careers, transforming business.
Are you stuck in a job you hate? Dreaming of a career that excites you? It's time to turn those dreams into reality with Get the Job You Love by Kyle Patrick Smith, also known as HR Kyle. Discover proven strategies to land your dream job, master interviews, and stand out from the crowd. Packed with expert advice and practical tips, Get the Job You Love is your ultimate guide to career success. Available now on Amazon and other online retailers. Don't wait. Start your journey to a fulfilling career today. Get the job you love, because you deserve a job you love.
Unfortunately, we received word that our guest will not be able to join us. So as a result, segment 1 is the one and only segment for this episode of the HR Kyle podcast. We hope you enjoyed our discussion today and you were able to take some really good notes and have some things that are a takeaway for you as you consider building and nurturing your digital presence. Otherwise, I want to leave you with these 3 thoughts. Stay focused, stay grounded, and of course, stay tuned. Well, that's a wrap for today's episode of the HR Kyle podcast. We hope you found our discussion valuable and filled with insights that you can apply in your professional journey. Whether you're a business leader aiming to foster a thriving workplace or a job seeker looking to carve out your own path, remember that HR Kyle is the compass that can guide you towards success. If you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to subscribe, rate, and share it with your network. We're committed to being your trusted source for HR wisdom, and we look forward to having you back with us for our next episode. Remember, in the world of HR and professional growth, there's always room for progress. Be sure to visit our website at hrkyle.com. That's hrkyle.com to learn more about how we can help you meet your business and professional goals. So until next time, this is HR Kyle signing off. Stay motivated, stay informed, and keep reaching for those career goals. Music provided by bensound.com. That's bensound.com.